Mython is an all-around great yokai. His design is great first of all, and perfectly embodies what Mython is supposed to be. He's a python, and he likes when things go his way. He has a very stuck-up and stubborn look on his face, and the way both of his thumbs point towards him adds to this vibe. But how is he faring competitive? Well, Mython has a lot of great qualities that make him very commonly used as a yokai. First, his being A rank does limit his usability. However, A ranks are much lower value than S ranks. They are still highly valued spots, don't get me wrong, but A ranks usually don't have as much competition as S ranks. Take in Spirit teams for instance. There's so much S rank competition on in Spirit, since you're pretty much forced to run Dr. Nocturne or Dr. Eraser. This leaves only one S slot open, which is most commonly taken by Teducator. Teducator can be switched out for Sunken Soul who has a similar skill, so you have room to add Recuperate or Ed's Off, or even something else out of left field like Jana Sakwa. Meanwhile, the A rank playing field is pretty empty, mainly taken up by percussionists or yokai raised to A with Procedure Trader. This means that A ranks can actually fit on teams a lot more easily than S ranks, which brings us back to Mython. Mython has a lot of great qualities that you would expect to find in an S rank, except it's actually just an A rank. First off, Mython's unique skill, Mython Mix-Up. This reverses weaknesses and resistances for all yokai. Weaknesses and resistances aren't very important in Yokai Watch, but they're still qualities to take into account. I've stated in the past how yokai like Shavolkan and Shrook are great because of their resistances, and Mython flips them on their head. Now Shavolkan is weak to the strongest attacking element in the game, and Shrook, while he's resistant to lightning, will get swept back into the ocean by a stray Soaking Soul Solaruma, or even Mython himself. Which brings us to our next point. Mython isn't a case like Nocturne or Food 2, where he just stays and sub the whole game keeping his skill active, because Mython prefers to hold his own really well in the field. He has over 300 HP, which is always a nice quality, as well as a usable defense stat. His spirit is also amazing, meaning his 112 base power waterfalls will take a decent chunk out of most yokai. He runs a shielding soul to make use of these qualities as an offensive tank. His ultimate is also very unique, as the pattern it hits him is very uncommon. It hits the top left corner, the bottom right corner, the bottom center, the center left and center middle. In other words, it's sweeping through the middle of the board. This is a pattern you hardly ever see, and it's very hard to use pattern. Things like a 6-tile rectangle or a front column are easy to line up at least 1 or 2 yokai, but this is a really awkward pattern to use. It does cover 5 tiles, and it can be very rewarding to use since it will catch your opponent off guard, but hitting more than 1 yokai with it won't happen very often. His Inspirit is not great, but can be helpful if you're unlucky and he doesn't use Waterfall. The only bad thing about Mython is his speed being only around 75, but all the other great qualities he possesses more than make up for it. Mython is one of the best slippery yokai and one of the best offensive tanks in the game. I never really considered him before this, but now I'm trying to fitting him in more teams. What do you guys think of Mython? How have you used him? Let me know in the comments and have a good day.